Hello everybody. I recently decided that I wanted to learn graphics programming, and what better way to do that than to give myself a measly 7 days to learn OpenGL and make a Minecraft clone, like the many that came before me. I spent the entire first day trying to figure out OpenGL and eventually making this triangle. It's a small step, but a crucial one for the process. On day 2, I cleaned up the spaghetti and managed to make this textured quad. We're almost there. On day 3, after figuring out all of the matrices, we finally get a block. I then went on to add this camera so that I could move around my newly created block. But one block is quite boring, and so I decided to build the first chunk. Now, without a Perlin noise library, I had to use mathematical functions to make these waves, and you can probably see that it's quite hard to make out the differences in the blocks. So I decided to add this simple block face lighting, where each face gets a slightly different brightness for its vertexes based on the direction it's facing. You'll also probably notice that I added some more blocks. On day 4, I downloaded a Perlin noise library and finally made the terrain actually random. I then tried my hand at generating multiple chunks, but forgot to add an offset to the noise values, so they all look a bit weird. Also, if I go inside of the chunks, you'll see that I'm generating faces between the chunk edges. These faces are redundant and will need to be removed. And so I did that, and you'll also probably notice that I fixed the noise as well, so there are no more redundant faces between chunks, and the world looks really cool. I kicked off day 5 strong by adding block interaction. This took me a very long time, because for some reason I couldn't get the raycast to hit the right spot and my blocks would always be offset weirdly. But in the end I did finally get it. Then I made the terrain more interesting, and finally added caves to Cave Game. Now with the basics down and just 2 days left to go, I really kicked into gear. In day 6, I decided to add infinite terrain. You'll also probably notice that I added a block selector, and this also meant that I had to add a block class so that I could actually get references to them in a good way. You'll probably notice that this kind of runs like crap, and so I decided to multi-thread it. I'm not sure if I did it right, but it seemed to improve performance, so... And, oh, did you catch that? That was my frustum culling being a bit too aggressive. Frustum culling is where chunks check if they're actually inside the frustum of the camera, and if they're not, then they decide not to get rendered, which improves performance as well. Continuing my streak of productiveness into the night, I added biomes, but you can probably tell that they look kinda weird. This is because they have different noise values, but there's no interpolation between them. So I had to implement a biome blend, which, took me a while. Eventually I did get it, and I also decided to add water, except currently it's just a solid blue block. So transparency will need to be added soon. And so I added transparency. And with my new transparent layer, I then decided that it was finally time to add trees to the world. They look weird, but they're trees, so they're good enough. And so came day 7, the final day. I decided to start off by trying to make a player controller so that you wouldn't have to be a disembodied head anymore, but I broke my neck a couple times. I did manage to get it working, however, and so now you could finally run around the world and feel like a real boy. Obviously the collisions were a little bit weird, but I did clean those up later. After cleaning up the collisions, I decided my world looked a bit bland, so I decided to add flowers and grass and cacti too, and also I increased the sprinting speed so you could bounce around the world like Gordon Freeman. You'll also probably notice that the recording looks weird because I made the game full screen, which made me seem to forget to record footage, so you'll also probably notice that I made logs have an actual log texture on the top, and I also added a proper skybox and clouds. And as the final day drew to a close, I finally added a water overlay so that it would look normal when you went underwater, and a screenshot button when you press F2. And well, that was the end. This is my week. And this is all I could make as a beginner in OpenGL. I hope you enjoyed. There'll be a download link in my Discord server, which will have a link in the description of this video. I don't expect it to run super well. This is my first ever OpenGL project, so please don't hate me if it runs at 5 frames per second on your PC. My PC's not great, so I imagine it'd probably run better on most of yours. I hope you enjoy, and thank you for watching.